educationist, STEAM teacher, best primary school teacher of the year 2023-24 in the whole UAE.
What teaching methodology did you adapt that made you the best teacher in the whole UAE?
It's quite interesting because I've been in education now for over 20 years, and
What is this STEAM program?
lots of different zones within the STEAM Centre. So there's CAD, but we can.
Which system is the best, do you reckon?
I've noticed from a little boy of how he's developed in 6 months.
Why most of the entrepreneurs we see, they are less educated as compared to most employees, those who are more educated. So is it because of our education system?
I'm going to struggle to answer that one, actually. That's a horrible question. That's the first time you've flummoxed me.
That's all right.
They see me as a sort of like an inventor, somebody who teaches design and STEAM.
And we need to think about changing the education system as well.
Yes.
So Japan has got a quite uniform system.
I don't normally live for the holidays because I love what I do.
Yeah.
I never ever have counted down. I don't dread Sunday nights, going to work on a Monday morning.
It definitely embodied with the children's mind, and they learn 100% what they're doing and how they can apply them.
If you know your students, you know their triggers, and if you pull them up in a particular way, we're trying to use sort of different elements of AI within different projects. So in the school that I work in, there are 70 different nationalities.
Wow. What advice would you give to someone who's planning to relocate to Dubai?
Okay.
Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela. I'm honored to host an educationist in today's Explore Hayat podcast. He's the best primary school teacher of the year 2023-24 in the whole UAE. He's also a STEAM teacher, 24 years teaching experience in secondary and now primary education. He likes designing and making things, loves traveling around the world. He's passionate about buildings and architecture, and also enjoys sports, especially football. Let's welcome our guest.
Mr. Jamie, you have been the best teacher in the UAE in 23-24.
Yeah.
So what teaching methodology did you adapt that made you the best teacher in the whole UAE?
It's quite interesting because I've been in education now for over 20 years, and education is always changing and you're learning new things all the time. So you pick up various skills throughout your life, and you work at different schools and you work with different professionals. So, the one thing that I've brought to Dubai is obviously a lot of experience in doing different parts of design, but also, hard work and commitment to the students. So at the end of the day, the students are there to learn and get a fantastic education, and it's our role as teachers and leaders to basically educate them and develop their skills in a particular way. So I don't think that I've got particular methodologies. I think that I've brought a lot of experience into the UAE. And I think a big thing is that I'm a secondary school teacher, so I've worked in secondary schools the whole of my life, but at the school I'm working at now, they've employed me as a secondary school teacher to work with primary school students. So the school firmly believe in challenging the students and pushing them, and they specifically wanted secondary trained staff to deliver a secondary education to primary school students. So I think I've had to change my methodologies, and because obviously I deal with older children usually, and it's about, I firmly believe you can teach anything to a particular child if you use a different strategy. So I think some of my methodologies are, there's lots of practical demonstrations, you're learning through doing, and working in STEAM and working in the design process, we truly believe in, it's called the iterative design process, where you design, you manufacture, you test, you design, manufacture, test, and that learning through doing, I think, really helps the students to reflect and progress and make decisions about their designing. So we challenge them as well, again, with lots of different machinery in the STEAM Centre. And it's training them to just carefully training them to use those bits of machinery and pieces of equipment to make sure their work becomes, to the highest level.
Yeah, that's so interesting, like design, manufacture, and test. So this is a methodology you're using it now. You mentioned about the STEAM as well. So would you just elaborate a little bit more about what is this STEAM program?
Yeah, so I work at Sunmark School, and the Sunmark School has got a fantastic STEAM centre. I think it's one of its kind in Dubai. I'm proud to say that I work in a fantastic space. There's no other space like it. And we can deliver to the children. We've got lots of different zones within the STEAM centre. So there's CAD, but we can computer aided design, but then send it to a laser cutter, so we can produce shop quality outputs. We've got woodwork with machinery. We can take it into filmmaking. We've also got a green room if they want to take their products into advertising. We have got a textiles area. We've got a cooking area and an arts and crafts area. So really the whole STEAM sort of like journey, the science, we can bring that in while the children are in the STEAM centre, but it actually starts before that. So when the children take a new STEAM project, it's normally for 4 weeks. So they do 2 weeks in the STEAM centre and 2 weeks with their class teacher. So it starts with the class teacher, which is always a problem. And generally it's a real life problem. So they're addressing things that are current today. So they've got good links to do with the world, sustainability, the environment, and also UAE as well. So the science and the maths can be delivered in the classroom, but then it's then developed through the STEAM centre as well. So you've got science, the technology, engineering, the arts, and then maths. So different projects will have a stronger emphasis on a certain element, but generally most of the projects integrate all of those to solve the problem and come up with a solution.
This sounds so interesting. Like first they are going for 2 weeks to the conventional teaching style probably, and then they come to you in the STEAM center where you give them more hands-on and the practical side of it.
Yeah.
So how do you really transform or change this the theoretical to the practical once it comes to mathematics? Because understand science, technology, engineering, then
the arts.
The art.
Yeah.
Okay. How about math? How do you bring it to practical math? What do you teach there?
So the project that we're working on at the minute, we're actually designing rockets with year 5 students. So the project that I'm delivering is like 3D paper modelling. And you can make some fantastic things with paper. And our learning objective is to work with skill and accuracy to make accurate models. And everything that we've been doing is to do with maths. So we're looking at diameters of the rocket body. We're looking at measuring how long the rocket body is. They're using 3D shapes, so the cylinders, cones. They've got to measure the diameter, again, keywords that come into it, the diameter of a cone that will actually fit on the body to make it more streamlined. They're looking at nets. Yeah. So they're making a net, which then they can assemble a tab, which is the fin of the rocket. And all of those elements they then design the rocket to fit on a launcher. So we've actually tailored the project so when they test it properly, they will then see some fantastic results. So they make a paper rocket which will fit on the launcher, which there's a parachute attached into a cone, so they can see how it flies, which direction it goes in, how high it goes, did the parachute release, why did it not release, all these questions. And it's all about reflection. So when they start the project in the classroom, they always make a prototype with their classroom teacher. So that's interesting because they bring the prototype into the STEAM centre and straight away it's test and evaluate. It's nice and simple, what's gone well, what do they need to improve. So already they're making decisions of what they've designed in the classroom to then take forward. It's our job as STEAM teachers in the fantastic facility that we've got is to take it to the next level. So what can we do in the STEAM centre that will drive the education forward to a higher standard so they produce, fantastic shop quality work, which they can then test and evaluate again. But we always try and reiterate to the children that it doesn't just stop there. So even after your 10th prototype or even after your final prototype, just like what James Dyson did with his DCO1 vacuum cleaner, after 5,000 prototypes, he then was ready to go into production. So it's even looking at real life designers as well and trying to explain to them it's not about one prototype.
Yeah.
It's about designing prototypes to solve a problem, but there's always change. There is always room for improvements. We can always ask the question, how can this, be better or fly higher or be more aerodynamic? So interesting process, and fantastic to go on those journeys all the time.
Yes, definitely. It sounds so interesting. And, the best part is, of course, for my time, for example, what we learned, most of the things what we were learning were just the theoretical side of it. But once you bring the application of it, so it definitely embodied with the children's mind, and they learn 100% what they're doing and how they can apply them practically. So is there any other school you reckon they are doing the same STEAM center or STEAM program in other schools in the UAE?
I think most schools will have some sort of element of STEM or STEAM, because it's part of the curriculum, and it's good to have those cross-curricular links with your sciences and your maths, engineering, and bringing all those elements together. And I suppose we're proud at Sunmark to say that we're looking at projects here that are trying to solve real life world issues, and bringing all those elements together, we're coming up with some real nice solutions. This year, to do with the award, the Which School Advisor Award, it was the year of STEAM. So I think that a lot of schools now are going to be investing a lot of time and finances into that, because it's a good direction for the children to go into. I think it's important as educators that it's not just a standalone subject, maths and art and engineering and design.
Yeah.
It's actually, when you're out in the real world, when you are making a product or designing a product, you will have to sell it or market it or buy it. You will have to crunch those numbers. You will have to, design something with figures that actually make it work. So getting the children, remember these children are in year 3, 4, 5 and 6 of primary school, but to get those cross-curricular links at such an early stage, it's really actually, there's so many benefits to what they're getting as they go into the school further on.
Yeah, that's so true. I can see that there are so many benefits which children would be getting from the STEAM program, and it's more of a practical application of everything what they are learning. If I ask you about, because you're coming from the secondary education, now how difficult was that for you to adapt from secondary to primary education?
It's a really good question. When I applied for the job, I knew I was going to be a STEAM teacher. I knew I was a secondary school teacher, and I knew I would have to change. I didn't realize what the change would be. So I was in the UK. I knew I had the role. I didn't really know what I was walking into. And it's a very bespoke role. There's not many teachers that could shift a whole sort of education system like that and just, find it, or to do it quite naturally. I don't know. I've changed little bits in the way I teach, but I actually found it quite easy to do, which is quite bizarre, because I could now switch on and teach 18-year-olds, some real serious theories within the design world to do with moral issues or environmental planned obsolescence, which younger children would never get.
Yeah.
But you could then completely just switch over, maybe things to do with being a family man, having 2 children. Maybe those skills have really helped me, teach younger children. But when I was in the UK, I hadn't got a clue how that was going to pan out. And I just came to Dubai, I got my role, I got my head down, and I worked hard and worked with the leadership team, worked with the team in the STEAM Centre, and just taught. And I just rolled with it. And it's worked. Whether, I don't know, I can't answer that. It might work for me because of adapting and changing. That might be harder for different individuals to sort of switch that sort of mindset with the different year groups. But it might be because of obviously having younger children that I can just switch that quite easily. But yeah, interesting because it's a big, teaching 11 to 18-year-olds in the UK, and then to teach such young children.
Yeah.
But they also still get it, and they still understand it, and they still work hard, and they're still enthusiasts. It's quite strange.
This is really, it's brilliant the way you are saying you are making it feel so easy. Actually, I don't think it's that easy that somebody can switch the mind from like secondary students because, of course, the learning capacity is different. The rationale is different for both age groups, like until the age of 11 or 10, and then the elder children. So did you find any difference in the learning between these two age categories?
I think the main thing that I've had to do is chunk the information down. So instead of if I was a secondary school teacher, I would give them 5 steps to follow, and there might be a PowerPoint on the board, or they would have a handout, a step-by-step handout or they'd watch a demonstration. And being older, they'd remember more steps. Now, obviously, working with younger children, they would forget half of those steps. So the biggest thing I'd have to do really would just do 2 steps or even 1 step. So your next step is, so it's again going through a visual demonstration, checking their understanding, and then it's keep checking in with them and gathering the group around again to show the next demonstration. So as long as we have that sort of like, here's the first step, here's the second step, have a range of differentiated tools to work with. That might be, I like to use modeling. So modeling at different stages. So first step, it should look like this. So by the end of this time period, this needs to be done. Clear deadlines. You've got 10 minutes to do this. And then when the children come back again, your next step, and then to show the visual differences between the 2 models, or even question the children. So what's the differences between? So I think I've had to use probably more resources, more prototypes, but remember I get to make those as well. So that's quite cool. It's not a tiresome job. It's the things that I'm actually teaching and the prototypes that I'm making. It's just me having a bit of fun at work in my planning time to help the children learn.
I'm sure you're making it very interesting for the younger ones as well. And now you understand the way how to do it. So things are working for you. And this is really remarkable to see just in a short period of time. So you have taken the award of the best teacher in the whole UAE. So it's not a small thing. So you definitely adapted very well. But the challenges what you were facing, even those challenges, you never took them as a challenge, but you adapted so naturally. So that's really remarkable. Having experience of more than 2 decades in education industry, which system is the best do you reckon is in the market right now? Like it's American or a Cambridge system or Ivy system in your point of view?
So I've obviously worked in the UK for most of my career, which is the national curriculum in England. And what we follow in the Dubai school again is the British national curriculum. So the only thing really I can comment on there is they're very 2 different systems, but how they approach and maybe not differentiate, but how they challenge the students might be a little bit different. So both of my boys are at the school. So one is in EYFS, early years, and another one's in year 9. So I can obviously, because I'm in the school, I can relate to, or I see some of the teachers quite a lot, probably more than what my older one would want me to see them. But I can see both of them are getting challenged compared more here than they are in England.
Right.
I've noticed from my little boy, his writing and his sentences, how he's developed in 6 months so quick, and how driven the teachers are, and what they are delivering. I don't think he'd make that much progress in England. So there are very 2 similar systems, but I think it's the school's sort of like drive and attitude for success, which is probably the difference. Every system has got its strengths and weaknesses, but the comparison between the UK and Dubai, they're definitely pushed harder but in a positive way, only in a positive way.
But do you see when the children are being pushed harder, even though they are learning, but is it going to affect their personality somewhere? They start to live more in a stress once they grow up, or they get just the orders and they just want to do based on because they are kind of afraid of not doing something, to be heard from someone why you haven't done it. So this pressure is also working in adversely on the kids' life and their upbringing.
I don't think there's a pressure from the teachers to say why have you not done that. I don't think it's delivered in that way.
Okay.
I think in the terms of my younger one who's in EYFS, that wouldn't be appropriate, that type of pressure for a young child. I think the way that it's delivered, and I think how good the teaching is and how good the resources are within the school, I think it just naturally is challenging the students.
Oh, okay.
He comes bouncing out of school full of enthusiasm, wanting to do things that he's done in the classroom. So last week, it was engineering week to do with in his class, and he was obviously inspired already. They made a marble run, and the challenge was to keep the marble running as long as possible. And he wanted to make a marble run at the weekend with me.
Yeah.
So, I think the methods and the teaching is still, it's not pressurized, it's fun.
Okay.
And they're learning through doing. And I think even with my older son as well, he doesn't come out of school pressurized or stressed.
So, but the system what you have got in your school is not the system which is usually the system of the Dubai system or UAE system, or is the same system of education?
I think it's the same.
It's same. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I think here a lot of schools, or all the schools, are going to be, because they're a business, they're going to be driving to be the best.
Yeah, true.
To get that outstanding statement and to get the best teachers but I think it's done in a positive way, to fulfill the students' sort of like ambitions and dreams. So
yeah, which is actually good because they still enjoy, but they're pushed a little bit to bring them to some point so that they start to realize, and also they enjoy so much after achieving something.
Yeah.
Why most of the entrepreneurs we see, they are less educated as compared to most employees, those who are more educated. So is it because of our education system, the prevailing system all around the world?
It's a good question. Wow. I'm going to struggle to answer that one, actually. That's a horrible question. That's the first time you've flummoxed me.
That's all right. So you think about it, like, because you see most of the time, we always find that some people, they don't study at all, but somehow they are hiring the most educated people.
I think it's all those hidden attributes that are not part of to do with your academic success. So a lot to do with resilience. Those qualities and perseverance and not giving up. I think it's those character strengths that an individual has got. Yes, they need to be creative. Yes, you need to be hardworking, but a lot of people have a poor attitude of, this I'm going to give up. I can't. This is not working, and it's that mindset. And I think determination. A lot of the designers or famous people, they are so driven to succeed because they probably believe in what they've got as well. They've got a product, they believe in it, and they will do everything possible to make that happen. Now, it's that drive, it's that energy, it's that target setting, it's the goal. They are the wider things that you build as a character in life and in school through. They might be embedded in you from your family. You might, be inspired by a teacher, but it's also those inner things that you've got. That you're never going to give up and you will succeed. And I think when you get to a level of succeed, you then move it to the next level, and you move it to the next level, and you move it to the next level. So when you've achieved one target and goal, it doesn't go away. You want the next one, and then you want the next one.
Why do we see more of entrepreneurs now, 18 years, 19 years, 20 years, YouTubers, TikTokers, and all? They're making much more money, and they're like, the way of making a business and earning money is becoming different uh, from the conventional way of doing business. Which background are these new generation is coming from? More or less same background, Generation Z. They have got a similar culture. So now the world is a global village. So everybody is being impressed and inspired of, the same, like different. They're all kind of a same level. But now you're seeing more millionaires in the younger age and go-getters. So what this trait is, which is different from our time?
Good question. Maybe that is a big difference in generation there, because I'm lost in all of that.
What do you think? The education system, what is the prevailing education system all around the world, is more based on theory than the practical. So, like you are doing now, STEAM, and more practical side of it. So, probably now focus more on the practical side or skill development is better than giving a lot of theory for like 16 years of education or 20 years of education. So maybe the young ones, they drain out by that time because they are running after something else. But once they get into the practical life, that is different from what they had been learning. That was more of a theory. But the new generation, they could crack the code of making money earlier, even without going for all those theories in the universities. And as you know, that now all this education system has already become quite commercial and high fees for the teachers, and high fees for the school, environment and the buildings and the big setup. Maybe now the new generation is not willing to pay for that, and they want to explore themselves more.
Probably, yeah.
And we need to think about changing the education system as well.
Yes. It's funny because back in England, when I was a year, like a sixth form tutor.
Yeah.
So you would, or even, a bit younger than that, we would do sessions on careers, and like you'd have your stereotypical, your lawyer, your fireman, your teacher, all of the standard ones. But then you've got your now up and coming influencers and YouTubers that have started to come onto the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it's all about the practical side and also, the doing, because it is quite an exciting platform, isn't it?
Yes.
Rather than going to university and getting into debt, it might be another route that somebody could showcase their skills.
Yeah.
And it's there is no right path, is there? You're driven by your own goals, and you could seek advice from teachers or your family of what you want to do. But if you can find a route that is the way you want to work and a more creative way, if you're that type of learner, so be it. Jump on that bandwagon and let's do it.
I think now it's getting quite difficult to explain to the young ones that why going to the university is important. And probably that's how you see in the Western culture as well, that many dropouts you would find after the high school, they don't even bother to go to the universities. Like in New Zealand, the government was offering the program for the first year free for the students to join, at least get into the university. But most of the people, they just do like different kind of businesses, like, as you said, influencers, YouTubers, TikTokers. Now the new era is a bit different, and it's very hard for the young generation to keep asking them that why education is important. And the trend of reading books is also finishing now. You must have faced the similar situation probably in your school as well, that people are not very keen to go to libraries and read books every day. And one more thing which I wanted to ask is why logic and philosophy has not been integrated in your education system much. Because how I see is with the logic and the philosophy, you can improve the cognitive abilities of the students, and then they can be better thinkers, they can be better planners. So your way of teaching, which is STEAM, is very good. I can see that you're really bringing up the practical side of it. Yet the philosophy and logic is kind of being not taught much in the early stages. If it's educated in the early stages, as you bring in the system, would that bring any betterment in the society?
I think it is, but I think those skills are touched upon in maybe like in tutor time. So, and also there's an area, it's called PSHE, which looks at the wider issues of society.
Yeah.
So I think they are. I don't think they're signposted, very very clearly, but I think they are touched upon in the national curriculum, but delivered in in those areas of maybe form time, because they are important. Again, they are skills that young children need to develop their character strengths along with their education.
Yeah. How much work is being done in the schools nowadays on working on the ethics and teaching them respect and good language? Because I'm seeing nowadays it's very common to use the bad words, swear words. Most of the children they use. But you being the teacher, you are developing the societies. How important do you see these kind of education, which must be compulsory in their schools, or are they happening or not?
Yeah. So I think there's two sides here. I think as an individual, as a teacher, you've got your own moral thoughts of what is right or wrong from how you've been brought up and your background. That's always in my back of my mind. But also then you've got the school system on the other side as well, which runs alongside that. So I suppose as a teacher, you've got your own judgments that you've got in your brain, how to deal with a situation when it occurs, but also you're linking the school's policy, the whole school policy as well.
Yeah.
So again, depending on the situation, you deal with that in the appropriate manner. But I suppose in a way you've got to look at it, because every child is different. You need to understand the children that you're working with, and obviously not what one method of solving a problem doesn't fit all.
Yep.
So I'm a firm believer of, if you know your students, you know their triggers, and if you pull them up in a particular way, it's that personalized learning thing, isn't it? So you can deal with the situation so it doesn't escalate.
Yeah.
So at Sunmark we use positive education. So we look, we try and question the students in a calm way and ask them, so why has that happened? Can you think of a better way of dealing with that? And even then getting them together with the person that it may have been aimed at, for them to sort of like maybe say sorry, or those sorts of things. So there's different ways. We use the positive system here, but that doesn't always work for later on in your older year groups for secondary. That's where the school systems come in, where there's clear lines that you don't cross. So I think all schools, whether you're in the UK or the UAE, they've got their own behavioural system. Staff are trained in the induction programme to follow that system, and obviously it's updated at any point. But I suppose as a teacher, you've got that in your mind, what the school system is. You use it, but you've also got your own sort of morals and beliefs, and you basically deal with the situation how you see best fit with the student that you're obviously talking to.
Yeah, definitely it does make a big difference, because the society you're living in, the family your upbringing is going on, and then the school you are getting the learning from. If I compare from Japan, so Japan has got a quite uniform system. Like the whole society works in a good coordination. So once I asked some Japanese people while living in Tokyo, and they said, it's beautiful when you go to any shop, any restaurant, any cafe. So people, they have a way of welcoming you. They say in Japanese, welcome. No matter who gets into the shop or a bank or any place, they just everybody, or anyone says welcome to you. And when you go out, then they say, thank you for coming. And this is such a norm. And also, like, you do whatever you do, you go on the streets or anywhere, people are always saying thank you and sorry very frequently. They don't have this habit of using swear words or, just fighting or. So this is coming from their education system. Once I asked them, they said, because in the school, primary level, these ethics are being taught to them. That's a part of our curriculum. So this is so beautiful. And you can see today, like, this Japanese culture is so strong as a culture. And they're quite cultured people as well. So it goes a lot to school probably, because these children, once they grow up and once they become parents, they transfer the same things in their children.
To their children,
And that's how you are building the whole society. So right now, if you see, maybe in the school you are teaching something, but their parents probably in their home, they are using abusive language and they are not so cultured. Probably children are getting confused. So do you have something like, okay, we teach children in the school ethics and morals. How about bringing the children, parents as well, and talk to them about it?
That's quite a tricky one, isn't it? You as teachers and educators and the school will try and embed those morals into youngsters from an early age. If that is not happening in the home life, that's when you've got your two differences of like sort of like morals and rules. That's always quite a tricky one as a parent and a very delicate matter to sort of like advise them on, because having those one-to-one conversations with, parents to try and advise them of how to parent in a different way is a very delicate matter. No parent likes to be criticized on how they're parenting.
True.
So that's a tricky one. I've never been in in a long time, I've never got into a position where I've had to do that.
One thing which I liked about the New Zealand education system, they have got 4 corners. You have to conquer all of them to become the best student award. Not only education. So they talk about, yes, education is one side, then the leadership. You have to have that leadership in you. Then what kind of a social capabilities you have? Are you a social person or not? And the 4th one is sports. So you have to perform in all corners to become one good, complete person in your life. And if you are doing best amongst all of them, you are the best student. Not only the best student means in education, but also this one thing which I liked in their system. And as you say about STEAM program sounds very interesting to me. And in this STEAM program, if there is any AI involved or technology involved, so would you like to tell something about that as well?
Yeah, so we've got a massive drive at the minute to do with AI and how you can integrate that into the curriculum. So we're trying to use sort of different elements of AI within different projects. So I was doing some research yesterday on year 3 in about 4 weeks' time are coming into the STEAM Centre. And their project's all about promoting a healthy lifestyle. So with me, they're designing a logo, and with the other STEAM teacher, they are basically baking a healthy product, and it's all going to be packaged and sold as a little mini enterprise. So we'll sell it to children and the parents, and the logo will be printed on a sticker and put in. So what they've been made is a bit of a, like a business enterprise. I've just been looking at a logo generator. So you can actually type in keywords. You can type in what symbols you want into it. You can put in a slogan, and then it will generate basically a range of logos. Now that's fantastic, because you can then ask it to generate a load of questions or a spelling list. So you can do that live.
Yeah, definitely. When there are some benefits of using AI and the technology at the same time, you have got the downside of it as well. If it's overlooked, of course, we are moving in the wrong direction. So now this beautifully answer. And so you have been teaching for more than 2 decades. teaching to the children, teaching to everyone as a teacher?
That's really funny because somebody helped me yesterday or the day before. So, and it's just little things. And it's that creativity. So we just finished off a STEAM lesson with the year fives. We'd been making rockets. So their task was to make the rocket body, the cone and the fins.
Yeah.
So when you've got 8 different classes coming in at different times, like planning and storage is important. So each class would have a storage tray. So you'd ask the children to put all of their, rocket bodies and things into the tray. And first of all, I said to them, can you write your name on all the fins and all of the different parts? And then one child said to me, Mr. Summers, why don't we turn the cone upside down, put the parts in the cone, and then just hand the cone in because we've already got the name on our cone? And I'm like, genius.
Wow.
Well done. And I said, stop, change of plan, new idea. This person has just come up with an ingenious idea. And then guess what? We use that idea and we use that system for the whole time. And it makes my life easier. It reduces the work rate and we can give out the work a lot quicker. So
that's so true.
I love that because young minds are there to be used, aren't they? They're powerful and they can solve problems and they can think of things in different ways. And it's about embracing that. And, we don't always get things right. We think of things to do in a particular way. Yeah. And sometimes when you're rushing, it's probably not always the best way. And that was not the best way to do that. Yeah. And I was put right probably by a 9-year-old or 10-year-old.
So
which
true,
is, but fantastic. That they are better organized than me in that situation. So
coming back to your background, because you're not just a teacher, but you're more of a scientist, inventor.
Inventor.
Yeah. So please share some story from your life when you have invented something, you have launched it, or any story about your inventions.
Yeah, so long time ago now, I was actually at an airport and way before the time of like iPods, the typical music scene was a personal CD player, like a Discman. When you'd go on holiday, you would either take some speakers or maybe you'd carry like a handheld radio to your holiday destination. So I remember being at the airport with my trolley and my cases and my hand luggage and this radio that I sort of like hooked onto the trolley. Anyway, it fell on the floor. Luckily, it didn't smash. And I thought to myself, that isn't right. There's a problem here. Surely I should be able to take sound and music away with me when we go, for our break on holiday. So it even started while I was on holiday, trying to sketch ideas down on bits of paper. So I sort of invented this sort of flat pack speaker in the shape of a bag. So it was a bag that you could carry, made out of polypropylene. Again, the maths came into it with a net. So it was a standard net and it had a speaker in it. So you could open the bag, put your CD player at the time inside it, and you could take it to the beach, you could take it to the pool. It was sort of like waterproof. And it was almost like a bit of a holiday item that if it got damaged while you were away, you could dispose of it. And so it was a low budget item. Not very good now looking back in the world of sustainability and promoting things to last. But at the time, it was more of a throwaway item. So I went all the way. I patented the idea. I basically made, nearly 100 prototypes to test and evaluate. So what I actually teach the children is what I've been through in sort of like reality. I worked with different organisations to give me funding and made different contacts and made a contact over in Hong Kong. So they made a batch prototype of 10. So again, there were problems that I wanted to listen to the sound, but you can't listen to the sound over a phone call. So then obviously I had to fly over to Hong Kong and check whether it was loud enough. And again, it wasn't. So then they went back to the factory and changed the electronics and that. So yeah, it got all the way to like the buyers in the UK. So there was various sort of retail outlets that were interested. But unfortunately, it was quite tricky because I was a full-time teacher at the time, trying to invent and do things in my own time at the weekends and holidays. I was going through a process and I was making mistakes, but learning from those mistakes. So it took me 5 years. Now, if I was to do that now, it wouldn't take me that long because I've obviously been there. Again, I was very young as well, and you just sort of like listen to people that advise you. Some of the advice wasn't very good, but it's that determined and, you know, persevered approach that I believed in what I got. I believed in that I would sell it. I believed in the product.
It's really interesting because getting the free logs or free wood you could use for your chimney as well in the hot weather. But you didn't use it for the burning, but you thought to make something creative and you did it.
It's funny because I've bought those ideas to Dubai as well. So we do like the extracurricular clubs in the school. They're called ECAs. So I did a woodwork club for 2 years running. And again, the school has pallets. So I take the pallets out of the car park, break them down, and they made basically, again, wooden products out of the pallet wood, and we sold them as a little entrepreneurial sort of activity. You know, when we have a cinema night or we have Sun Market at some mart where people sell things. So, and they made these sort of wooden robins like for Christmas.
Yes.
All out of recycled wire, nails, but basically the children used saws, files to actually shape these. And again, you know, these were 10 and 11-year-old children that were making some really bespoke items, and I just trained them how I would train, you know, how I'd been trained or how I'd be making these back in the UK. So
do you sometimes find that like children, they invent something or some new innovations which you find that, oh, they must be commercialized? Do you ever come across such invention?
Not really, because I think because we're so tight on time, and with our sort of like our STEAM program, they have 4 projects a year, and they start in the classroom, then they come to the STEAM centre, and by the end of it, they have to have this product made. So it's quite a structured process that they have to work to. So when they're in the STEAM centre, they might only have 5 hours to get from nothing to the end product. Now, I'd like to sort of like evolve more, you know, innovation and ideas. Maybe that can be embedded into a future, you know, STEAM project. But again, I'm doing a new extracurricular club to do with drawing. So I believe drawing's really important. Not drawing on a tablet, as in the art of sketching your ideas down and know how to sketch. Again, the art will come into it and know how to 3D draw. So the designer needs to visualize their ideas out of their head and put it onto paper. So then maybe the person that's working with them or another part of the, you know, the team in the future can actually see a 3D view of what they're doing.
So you use CAD program for that?
Yes, but before the CAD, you'd try and promote sketching their ideas down as like initial sketches.
Right.
So in secondary, the design and technology, you do your research into the problem, you'd write a design brief, and then you'd do your initial ideas.
Yeah.
After the initial ideas, then you'd go into modeling. Modeling might be cardboard modeling. Yeah. So you'd model different parts of it. You'd look at the size, how it works, but then you could then go into CAD modeling, which then could go into 3D printing, or it could go into laser cutting, and then you go into planning your production. So, but that sketching thing and the innovation thing, I think, is quite important.
Yeah, indeed.
If we had more time, I would love to promote and push that, because the innovation, you know, should always be there, because that is the future. Yeah, they are the future designers. They are the future like products that will come into the market when me and you are old.
All right, that's very nice. Good discussion on the education side of it. Now, I want to discuss about your relocation. How challenging did you find to relocate from UK to Dubai? Any challenges personally or professionally you faced?
Yeah. So it's been my dream really for a number of years to come to the UAE, to live in Dubai. Yeah. I think both me and my wife have got the same philosophy and attitudes that we don't want to look back when we're old and the things, you know, I wish I'd have done that. I wish I'd have done that. It's like if we have a goal or a target, we try and make it work.
That's so important, actually. One life.
Yeah. You've got to, you know, we don't. My granddad was a big philosopher of time. And he wrote a beautiful piece to do with time, to say you have X amount of seconds in a day, use those seconds wisely. They don't run over, so you've got to make each second count. It's not like an overdraft which you can go into your, the seconds and stuff. So his sort of like ethics have been sort of like passed down to me, and time is so important, because you need to, if you've got things that you want to do, and Dubai was one of those things. So at different points, it wasn't the right time, but when it was the right time, we both jumped in 2 feet and took that opportunity. However, it was quite tricky to begin with, because my wife had also been offered a leadership role in the company in the UK, and she's worked hard for what she's accomplished, and she's gone again above and beyond to get the qualifications that she's needed. I don't know anybody that would fly to Ghana to look at the legal system, to understand the legal system in a different country, so she could put that on her CV. So, she's gone to the extreme to make sure that she would be, a face that would stick out. Because when you get a lot of CVs on your desk, 50, it's not just about the academic qualifications. No. It's about what you've done. It's about,
true.
It's the person that stands out. So it was, I wasn't going to stop her taking the role. And we sat down and we discussed it, and there were good points and bad points, and we had to weigh it up as a family, and it was very, very hard. And it actually resulted in me and my older son coming out here first on our own, which really was hard for both of us. And then my wife and my younger boy, who was only 4 at the time, were in the UK. So there were good points and bad points, really. We were here and we got set up. So that would have been quite challenging, coming to a new country with a family, trying to find accommodation, get your bank account set up, your Emirates ID, for your family. Me as a sponsor would have to sponsor those, with the car rental. There's lots of things that you need to get done. And obviously you want it to, when they come here, you want it to be like a smooth sort of like sailing. True. So luckily the school provide accommodation, so that was all set up. I added to the accommodation while we were over here, but we got the car ready, we got the internet, we got everything set up. So when they did join us a year later, things were quite smooth. However, being apart for such a long time, it was awful. It was, I don't normally live for the holidays because I love what I do. I never ever have counted down. I don't dread Sunday nights, going to work on a Monday morning. Even after this is my 24th year, I still love and I was passionate about what I've done from day one. But obviously having half of my family at home, my wife at home, it was really, really hard. Zoom every single night, reading bedtime stories to my little one via Zoom. But what I found really hard was the time difference when the 4 hours, because that would have been 10 o'clock here, and then be 6 o'clock in the UK. So they would just be getting home from work or like after school club. I'd be almost getting ready for bed. The days start early in Dubai. School starts early in Dubai, and that's quite tricky to try and keep yourself awake. To do the Zoom call was actually quite challenging. So I would power nap in, I don't know, from like 5 until 7 or whatever, just to make sure that I could stay awake to read those stories and to have those conversations. Because I've got 13, 14 years. Me and my wife have been married, and we've never been apart. We've been apart when we go on, little breaks or away with your family and things like that, but not for a year. So it was pretty tough. But living for the holidays every 7 weeks, either they came over here and we flew back. So, and it was just one of those financial hits that we had to take. It was just something that we wanted to do.
You make a great father, great family. That's why it worked out for you so well. So you understand each other's needs, and this is really good. The understanding what you had for Dubai before coming and after coming, how much gap did you find in it? The
What do you
gap,
mean?
the understanding of Dubai,
Oh,
how
okay.
the life is, how the culture is, how I'm going to be there, because you must be visualizing something.
Yes.
And that was your understanding before coming here. But after you came here, settled down, how much gap did you find? It was very close to what you were expecting?
I think Dubai has changed a lot, hasn't it, over the last 10 years? And
It's keep changing
Yeah.
actually every 3 months.
Yeah, all the
every
time.
quarter.
And I remember many years ago, 10 years ago, we visited, and it's always, we're very, we'd like to read up about any countries that we go and visit because of, understanding the country's culture and understanding you don't want to offend.
Yeah.
You want to do things right. So when we came here 10 years ago, it's like, no, we can't hold hands, we can't do this, we can't do that. So stay away, all those sorts of things. And, I still didn't know what I could. I still don't know what I could or what you can and can't do when you go shopping in the mall. I'm fully aware that it's limited public affection and that's what I do. So I try, or we try to sort of like follow those things. I think it'd be more challenging.
Yeah.
I think the rules have relaxed a lot more. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think both me and my wife, we go to another country, and you abide by the rules.
Yeah.
You don't flaunt anything. You want to make sure that you're doing the right thing, and that's what we always try and do.
So the cultural norms and the customs, how did you find yourself to adjusting? Did you find them interesting or challenging for your own life?
So we've got the holy month of Ramadan coming up next week. I found that quite hard because we're in a school, and obviously, we're looking at fasting, and so trying to, you'd have to go to a particular place. But again, the school have got systems put in place to do that. But again, you've got to remember these are, you don't want to be doing things like that, in front of others. So it's just having that understanding and just having that sort of mindfulness. But we have a staff room, so we can eat in there, and the school have systems in place, so children that are fasting will be in a particular different place for other children that are from different backgrounds and stuff. So, but we've found it. I thought it would be maybe worse, but it's sort of been okay. Okay, yeah.
This is a beauty, I think, probably when you go to different cultures, different religions, and you start to understand and you mix together. Still, you find many things in common, few things probably not in common. And this is a place where we usually adjust ourselves and adapt to the environment. So is it hard for you to adapt these things, or it's okay, you are adapting pretty well?
It's been quite easy, really.
Quite easy, right?
In the school that I work in, there are, I think, 70 different nationalities.
Wow.
So, it's pretty, that's just Dubai, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did go to the world record attempt last year for yoga in one of the parks near the Frame.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they did and they wanted to get 200 different nationalities doing a yoga session. And I didn't realize there were nearly 200, nationalities living in Dubai. Well, that's what the organizer said anyway. So, but yeah, and that gets you thinking of where we are and the people that we're mixing with. And, we've got one common language that we can communicate with. And it's not about language, it's about, we've got facial expressions and smiling and handshakes. And so I think it's quite easy, and because you can find a way to communicate in particular ways. And whether there is a language barrier, you've just got to try and find different ways to, different methods that you can get people to understand you.
Do you find any experience or any highlight of your coming to Dubai as a highlight of your relocation?
I did. We went to not in Dubai. We drove to Abu Dhabi, and we went to the sort of Milky Way spot in the desert. That was inspired by one of the school projects, actually, because we were looking at space and we were looking at astrology and the stars and planetariums. So over the last holiday, we drove to the desert, bought a tent, and went out there, and that, just to know you can do that, that's pretty cool. Just to know you can drive somewhere, get away from the city lights.
Yeah.
And we just, we had a campfire, we toasted marshmallows, and we looked up at the sky. There was a crescent moon, but you could see the stars beautifully. We couldn't see the Milky Way. Apparently you can see it at certain times of the year, at certain times of the night.
Yeah.
But, you can't do that in the UK.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, actually.
Yeah, it's quite nice. You've got that. And Dubai, Dubai promotes that, doesn't it?
It does.
You can go out, and it's the love of the natural surroundings, as long as you abide by the rules and take all your rubbish away and all those sorts of things. We have a lot of desert you can go to, and just to do that, even around Love Lake and Al Quadra, that's pretty cool to do that as well.
What advice would you give to someone who's planning to relocate to Dubai?
Okay, you need to sort of research the country first. I do see a lot of posts on social media where that there's a lot of negativity that around the UK, and it's all, doom and gloom with the cost of living and prices going up and increasements of rent. And you do hear a lot of negativity in this sort of like the cycle of the rat race where there's no way out. And I think it's all right talking about it, but you've got to do something about it. And me and my wife wanted to do this a number of years, but I think maybe a lot of the younger generation think it's this sort of like what would you call it, gem in the desert where life is just perfect and there's loads of money and I can make my fortune. It's not like that. You come here and you work hard. You come here and you've got a role. It's not about, you can't just turn up. I'm sure there are some people would think about turning up without a job. And I do see on social media, and this is where this sort of like the lack of an experience and this sort of like dream to come to be rich in Dubai, it's not a realism, because you need to be prepared. You need to have a job. You need to be have a visa. And obviously that opens the doors with your Emirates ID. And to come here without doing any research is madness. Because, the people that are posting saying you need X amount of money for rent, you need X amount of money for this. And I just feel there's a lot of maybe the younger generation that maybe from they've seen TV I know there are TV programs that are shown in Dubai, and yes, there are that element in Dubai, but I was actually quite surprised that I watched those TV shows before I went out there, and it sort of brainwashed me a little bit. And when I got here, I'm thinking, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. Yes, there are Lamborghinis. Yes, there are nice cars. Yes, we've got the marina. Yes, it's a tax-free salary. Yes, this and this, but it's not all like that in Dubai. And you can choose the lifestyle. If you want that lifestyle, as a particular person, you can choose that lifestyle, of course. You could choose that lifestyle in England. You could choose that lifestyle in New York. You could choose that lifestyle in wherever you live in the world. And I think to come here without the knowledge of and getting a job, maybe, is vitally important, because you're here. Everyone has a role. That's what I've learned. You need to make sure that you have also got money to back you up, because if you're not coming without a job, or you want to, rent a place, that you need those checks to pay this for these service departments.
Any regrets coming and living in Dubai?
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. It's probably one of the best things, I'd ever do. The nearly 2 years that I've been here has gone like a flash. Our life is I'm not saying a lot. It's not easier. It's more family time because
good.
I still work hard, exactly the same. I still have the same routine as what I would do in the UK. The difference is I have more time to spend with, and because obviously the children finish school on a Friday afternoon, it feels like you've got a long weekend every weekend. So that's fantastic. So I have more family time with them. So we can spend Friday afternoon together, and then you realise you've still got Saturday and Sunday, which is fantastic. And Dubai is ever changing. Dubai always has something on, and it's got that forward-thinking innovation that it's an ever-changing city with an ever-changing skyline that's always going to come up with something new.
So you see more opportunities while living in here for the people, those who are coming, even though they have to earn the life the way they want, but it's still opportunities you see more than back in country?
Yes.
You
Definitely.
see them?
Yeah,
Good.
definitely.
Very nice. Okay. The last thing which I want to ask you. So when I was, of course, doing some research about yourself, I found out that Mr. Jimmy, he lives in this place. So what do you say about this? This found very interesting. So please tell something about it.
So I think after I won the award, there was lots of testimonials that maybe parents or the children would have sort of like said about me. So I don't know. I'm very, very passionate and very enthusiastic in the classroom. And I think maybe that sort of creativity and innovation has got into their sort of like brains, and they may have had a connection with maybe that building or of how I'm ever changing as well. It's quite a unique and interesting building because you could see the structure is ever changing. There's different pathways. You can grow through life like the building is, and it might be that they see me as a sort of like an inventor and as a somebody who teaches design and STEAM, that they may see me in a sort of building like that that's sort of reaching for the stars, always striving to sort of like achieve and always moving forward. It's quite nice that they sort of like can make that, you know what I mean, link, or they would have picked that maybe illustration to link my personality as that.
Yes, I can see that because it's like a dream castle, and they say, Mr. Jimmy, he lives there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being the guest in my program today. I really enjoyed it. Thank you again.
Thank you.